Less than a year on from his much heralded return to Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo's future at the club looks incredibly uncertain. United have reportedly been told that should the right offer come in, the Portuguese legend wants to leave, having grown concerned that he could be spending his final years as a professional representing a club going through yet another rebuild. The Red Devils of course do not want to let him go. After all, he was their top scorer in 21-22 with his 24 goals in all competitions, 14 more than the next best Bruno Fernandes. And they have emphasised that he still has 1 year left to run on his deal. To lose him just weeks away from their league opener against Brighton would be a disaster. But even if they manage to persuade the clearly unhappy Ronaldo to stay, they need to start thinking about their long-term striking options. At present, Edinson Cavani has left the club, Mason Greenwood is unavailable, and Anthony Martial is unlikely to play a major role. So today on Scout Report, we want to evaluate 3 options at 3 different price points. Let's get started. The cheap option, Duvan Zapata. It's worth pointing out that before we begin that the number 9 options right now are less than satisfactory. Harry Kane seems re-energised and happy thanks to Antonio Conte, while Erling Haaland, Darwin Núñez and Dusan Vlahovic are off the market. Then there are players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Alexander Isak and Jonathan David who have just endured underwhelming campaigns, while Robert Lewandowski only has eyes for Barcelona. Given the paucity of quality strikers on the market and the fact they still need to sign a defensive midfielder, right back and at least one forward to have any chance of closing the gap on the big boys in the division, signing a cheaper number 9 wouldn't be the worst idea. Step forward Duvan Zapata. With 8 years of Serie A experience under his belt representing Napoli, Udinese, Sampdoria and since 2018 Atalanta, the 31-year-old would represent a low-cost short-term alternative. His record of 106 goals and 44 assists in 257 Serie A games or 0.6 goal contributions per game is a very respectable return, considering he was nothing more than a bit part player at relatively average sides until his late 20s. Since joining Atalanta in a €12.5 million switch in 2018 though, his productivity has increased to 0.7 goals and assists per game, the same as Cristiano Ronaldo last term. We can already hear the detractors though crying that Serie A isn't as strong as the Premier League, and no it isn't. But Zapata's Champions League record is incredibly impressive with 7 goals and 6 assists in 19 games, including contributions against sides like PSG, Valencia, Marseille, Ajax and Manchester United. It's also worth pointing out that 2021-22 was a disappointing campaign for not only Atalanta, whose 59 points and 8th place finish was their lowest since 2015-16, but also for their Colombian main man. Having missed 16 games across his first 3 seasons in Bergamo, Zapata was forced to sit out 21 last term, meaning he only played for over 1,700 league minutes, his lowest since his first season at Udinese in 2015-16. Encouragingly for United though, this is something of an anomaly, with Zapata's 14,300 league minutes across the last 6 seasons, 700 minutes more than Marcus Rashford, who up until last term had played almost relentlessly since his debut in February 2016. So Zapata's record is impressive and his injury rate solid, but what makes him so unique? Well, first thing to note is that the Colombian is a high volume shooter, averaging at least 3.7 shots per 90 in each of his 4 seasons at Atalanta, peaking at 4.2 last term, 0.2 more than Ronaldo. Last season also saw him get 39% of his efforts on target, 3% more than world football's record goalscorer. With an incredibly powerful shot and deadly placement, when Zapata does get an effort on target, there is a decent chance it will go in. This is reflected in his numbers, although his goals per shot on target fell to 0.23 last term, some way below Ronaldo's 0.38. However, between 2017 and 2020, it never once dropped below 0.43, a tally Ronaldo never even got close to, even in his Real Madrid pomp. Another string to Zapata's bow is his creativity. With 26 league assists across the last 4 seasons, just 3 fewer than Ronaldo has provided in the last 6, dating back to the start of 2016-17. And something that infuriated United fans last term was that when things weren't going well, Ronaldo would drop deeper and deeper to try and affect play, meaning that when United finally did engineer an opportunity, they lacked a target man in the box. This will not be an issue with Zapata, with the Colombian operating almost exclusively in the final third. His defensive work is minimal, but he is incredibly good at making dynamic runs off the shoulder of the last man, with his 11.2 touches in the penalty area per 90 and 12.8 progressive passes received, ranking in the top 1% of forwards in Europe, undwarfing Ronaldo's comparatively passive numbers. With 2 years remaining on his current deal and a transfer market valuation of just over €29 million, we believe that Zapata could be a relatively affordable option for Ten Hag to consider as another new era begins at Old Trafford. The medium option, Moussa Dembele. A move featured in 10 shock transfers that will happen this summer over on EFD a few weeks ago, Moussa Dembele's potential move to Manchester United doesn't look as fanciful now. There are some things to note about the Frenchman. Despite having played for the likes of Fulham, Celtic and Lyon for the last 9 seasons, Dembele is still just 25 years old. It's important to note that he's had an opportunity with one of Europe's elites before, joining Atletico Madrid on loan in January 2021. The move was somewhat of a disaster, as a fractured arm, bout of COVID and difficulty adapting to Diego Simeone's very specific forward demands led him to receiving just 130 minutes of League and Champions League action. No one was therefore surprised when Los Rojiblancos turned down their €33.5 million option to sign him permanently. Fortunately, it didn't take long for Dembele's return to Lyon to bring out the very best form in him again, as he scored 21 league goals in 30 games, a figure bettered by only Kylian Mbappe and Wissam Ben Yedder in France and 9 players in Europe's top 5 leagues. He scored a goal every 105 minutes, 3 fewer than Mbappe and a vast improvement on Ronaldo's 136 minutes per goal. In a season strife for Ligue 1, Dembele was a player Peter Bosz could rely on, with 11 goals coming in the final 9 league games of the season, form that saw him rewarded with the captain's armband from the end of March. Dembele's record of 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 18 Champions League games though suggests he isn't ready to replace a man who's been defined by his exploits in the competition. But factor in that just 9 of those appearances have been starts, and he managed a crucial brace to knock Man City out of the 2020 Champions League quarter-final, and his record looks more respectable. It's also important to note that Dembele is far from a complete forward, operating more as a penalty box predator. He completed just over 12 passes per game last term, 14 fewer than Ronaldo, and he's far from a pressing machine with his 13 pressures per game ranking in the bottom 30% of forwards in Europe. So if Dembele is much like Ronaldo in terms of playing style without the goal scoring record, history of the club and Premier League experience, why would United want him? Well, firstly, it goes back to the lack of options, and secondly, he's totally dissimilar to Sebastian Haller, with Haller having slightly more touches in the opposition box, but Dembele having received more progressive passes. Not only that, but Dembele has proved himself to be first and foremost a reliable goalscorer, netting at least 20 in 3 of the last 4 seasons, with his 0.77 expected goals per 90 ranking 4th in Europe, behind only Lewandowski, Haaland and Benzema. For context, that was 0.06 more than Mo Salah managed for Liverpool last term. With Lyon not playing European football in 2022-23, United's failure to qualify for Champions League is unlikely to put off a 25-year-old with the best years in front of him. We reckon United could tempt Lyon into a sell for a bid around €35 million. The expensive option, Victor Osimhen. To be honest with you, we can't really see Napoli's Victor Osimhen joining Manchester United this summer. With Insigne and Mertens having already left the club, the Nigerian is set to take on an even more important role at the Diego Armando Maradona next year. What's more, having cost the Neapolitan outfit a club record £67.5 million, making him the most expensive African player of all time, he's likely to be far too expensive this summer, even in the event they sell Ronaldo and his rumoured £480,000 per week wages. But we believe that Osimhen may be well worth the mega money it will take to prize him away from Napoli. 2021-22 saw the former Lille man score 14 and assist 2 in just 27 league games, averaging a goal contribution every 125 minutes in a campaign in which his 16 games missed with injury ultimately derailed the Partenope's faint title hopes. In a similar vein to Dembele, Osimhen doesn't offer a whole range in terms of passing, only attempting just over 15 per game, of which 0.4 are progressive, ranking in the bottom 1% in Europe. However, with Bruno Fernandes and new signing Eriksen on the ball, United need a running threat to stretch the defence and create space for the likes of Sancho and Rashford, and for that, Osimhen is perfect. One of the quickest players in Serie A, Osimhen's blistering acceleration and anticipation often saw him burst past players into space, with his 7.1 touches in the opposition penalty area ranking in the top 10% of forwards in Europe last term. And when he's found in the box, Osimhen is nothing short of confident, firing off 4 shots per 90 last term and scoring 0.5 goals per shot on target, just 0.02 lower than Erling Haaland and better than any United player. For someone that was playing in the Belgian top flight just 4 seasons ago, Osimhen's ability to rise to every challenge presented to him at just 23 years old is a massive achievement. And make no mistake about it, he's a goal scorer having averaged a league goal every 158 minutes over the last 3 seasons, 55 minutes fewer than Rashford and over an hour less than Martial. With 3 years remaining on his contract, Osimhen will cost at least €80 million this summer. And for that reason, we suggest United should look elsewhere. But in 2023, who knows what might happen? So that was our scout report on 3 signings to replace CR7 at Manchester United. What do you think of our choices? Let us know who else you would recommend in the comments down below. Like and subscribe to Eurofootball Daily, hit that notification bell, and guess what? We'll see you next time.